Welcome to the Gentleman's Talk, where the podcast talks about a man's battle with mental health, his personal experiences, and his journey to be a better soul. Hosted by James Dean Littlejohn.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Gentleman's Talk. I've jumped on really quickly. I don't know if you've listened to my last podcast. Hopefully by the time you've got to here, you would have heard it. Otherwise you're doing things the wrong way. But I jumped back on because that podcast really affected me. And I mean with regards to the conversation on talking to another podcaster. I felt that went horrendously. The aspect of the first bit was really good in terms of the way that she was helping me and addressing me. I didn't feel it was justified in her response with regards to some of the other issues. I felt it was a very biased way, and almost a little bit like almost patronising, almost playing me down, which brought me on to thinking, can a woman really offer advice and guidance to a man? And that was one of the things I was sat there, and I have dwelled for half an hour now, because I knew it would affect me, because I don't like falling out with people, absolutely not, and my intention is never to fall out with people. I felt justified in my defensive response, because I didn't feel that I was able to articulate my full background. And for me, you need to understand the full background of somebody and the full background of a situation before you can offer advice. I felt that was a very biased way, almost made out that I'd done things wrong. And when I tried to explain myself and explain the whole scenario, in actual fact, I'd already done a rectification of what I'd done. I'd made a mistake with my daughter, but I had tried to rectify it. It was almost played down, and it made me think then, I value everybody's support. I always do. And I value everybody's input into helping and nurturing a safe and comfortable and progressive environment in mental health. That just made me, if anything, it just made me really think that I don't believe that women can offer the right support to a man. I just don't think they do. And that's no offence, absolutely no offence at all. But it just highlighted that here I am, and I've been doing this for 6 months. I've nurtured my mental health around other men and finding ways that other men deal with it. And instantly I came on and, I'd had a very good conversation with the woman, and she offered me some serious conversations, but at the same time had played down the element of anxiety, of PTSD and ADHD, and said, well, you need to heal yourself, heal your heart first. Well, the whole thing's a process, isn't it? The whole thing of healing yourself is everything. And I've taken some food for thought from that, and I have looked at that and gone, okay, you are right, I need to look at my heart. But I got very angry, I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't have said defensive. I would have said I got angry, because men are raised differently to women. We are raised in a completely and utterly different world. I don't feel, and for me, future-wise, would I have conversations with a woman again about mental health? I don't think I would. And that's not because I don't want their input. That's just because I don't believe they've been raised in similar ways. And when I made that point in my previous podcast with regards to men being raised, and she actually said, men are raised to not see emotions. We are raised to not address emotion. We are raised to man up. We are raised to get a job, support our family, look after our family, provide for our family at whatever cost, and normally at the cost of our own mental health. And she addressed that when she was talking to me, and then all of a sudden it came on to the female aspect and how I shouldn't have looked after I should have done this with my daughter. Now, I personally found that I think there was an element of her own desires there, and as she alluded to, she'd had a difficult upbringing herself, but I do believe that that's what she wanted, and You know, I work in a collaborative relationship with my wife, that she deals with that emotional side of things. I deal with the protective side of things, because I can't relate to a woman's emotion because I don't have that emotion. I get protective because I realised in that conversation that I still had some things to address with my own mental health and how I approach my family. So it was a difficult conversation, and if anything, it's led me to understand that I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, open to be challenged on this, but I don't believe that a woman can rightly or confidently offer support to a man. I don't think they can, and this is where we've had problems. We're trying to relate an emotion from a male to a female. We're built differently. We've understood this with all of this movement of identifying in certain ways, and men competing in female sports because they identify as a woman. Well, you don't understand, they have different genetics. We are built differently. We have, you know, we have testosterone, we have aggression, and I felt that that was a little bit patronising. The way that the end of the conversation went was as if to say, you know, my heart hurts a little bit and I'm sorry I couldn't help you. You could have helped me, but you didn't listen to me, and you offered your advice from your perspective but not from my perspective, and you played down the fact that I was trying to just explain the whole story. And I think that for me, mental health is about understanding the whole story to see where that person's travelled from. And the way I was raised was to avoid emotion, be competitive, be a man. Strength and honour is what I've been raised on. So when you talk about emotion, it's not something you can learn overnight. And when you've dealt with 10 years of mental health abuse, you know, for your own, you know, you've abused your own mental health, and when you've dealt with that for years, and you've dealt with the struggles, and you've ignored your own family because you've had your own circumstances to deal with, you need to understand the full story to offer advice. It's very easy to say, grab her hand and go for a walk. No, because she doesn't want to do that. And being a parent, there's no book. You don't get a book on how to be a parent. You don't understand that. You try every single day to be a better person. You try to be a better person tomorrow than you were today. And that's where mental health comes into this. You try to be a better person tomorrow than you were today. That's the way to heal. I fundamentally agree with the fact that you need to heal your heart, but you also need to acknowledge the fundamental basics that go along with mental health. You need to understand that PTSD and depression and anxiety and ADHD, these things, amongst other mental health conditions, they don't just go away. They can't just be managed like a click of a fingers and just thinking, oh, she's crying, support her. Because if you don't have that emotion, you've not been brought up with that emotion, you've been brought up to be competitive. I mean, Christ, you look at any sport, you look at any sport, this is how passionately I feel, of a bloke that is nurturing another bloke. And I saw this thing the other day, and I was watching an American footballer, or a dad that wanted his son to be an American footballer. And his son was walking along this pitch, holding this ball, and his dad was battering him with a bag, you know, like a pad, you know, a big pad, and making it look like he was getting hit from the side. So a full-grown adult was smacking the side of this, you know, 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid that was walking along because he wanted him to be an American footballer, because it comes with money and everything else. So he's training him and nurturing him early. The kid started crying. He's 6 or 7. You're hurting him. You're a full-grown adult, and he was quite a big guy, smashing your son on the side to try and make it look like, you take my hit, you'll take any hit. And he started crying, and he's looked at his son and went, do not cry, get back to the start, we're doing it again. That is how a fucking man is raised. How can a woman offer advice and support and when that is how you're raised? You don't change this overnight. It doesn't happen in a 5-minute conversation. You should do this. Oh, fucking brilliant. That's it. Better. I feel passionately about this because that's the problem with this fucking world. You get people that just go, you're looking at this wrong. I'm not looking at this wrong. I'm looking at it the way I was raised. I'm looking at it the way that I've been told to live. I don't show emotion because I'm not trained to show emotion. Females show emotion, and this is where I said, and we fixated on that, and we had an argument. And it turned into an argument where she left because, whatever, taken the moral high ground. I don't think so. She didn't want to listen to me. Now, that to me showed the true side of that advice. She was willing to offer her advice and talk over to me, and every time I raised my voice or got a little bit passionate, it was like, you're showing your anxiety again. I'm not showing anxiety, I'm showing passion. That's the difference there. I'm showing passion, not anxiety. And I was trying to explain the full story. She was like, you don't need to explain yourself. I think I do, because the advice you're offering me, I'd already done. You were just trying to sound, it came across as almost just trying to sound like she knew what she was talking about. And I'm getting angry because I feel passionately about my journey. I feel passionately that I'm talking about the healing. I'm meeting new people and I'm trying to offer advice on how I deal with things. And I was instantly came on, and I've been doing this 6 months, and instantly felt that I was invaluable. That's how I felt on that conversation. I felt devalued. And she said she wasn't trying to devalue me, but she did. She devalued my process and said, you're fixating on this. I know that there's two differences between healing and, healing my heart and healing my brain. I know there's two differences there. But men are raised differently to women. We don't think differently. So it's very easy. And that's where I felt, and we were having a great conversation at the start in the terms of she'd felt her own self-abuse, which is a very unfortunate thing. And I felt that the thing with her daughter, or the thing with my daughter, was resonating with her because, as she said, she hadn't dealt with it herself. She hadn't been given the support she'd needed. And that was my problem. I haven't been given the support I needed. So I felt passionately because I was like, well, hold on a minute. I did do that. I don't know what you mean. And then it became an argument because I was like, right, you're not letting me talk now. You're talking over me. And then every time I'm speaking, you're then making out that my anxiety's raised. No, it's not raised. I'm defensive. That I'm trying to be a good fucking dad. I can't be an amazing dad. But certainly felt difficult with somebody coming onto a podcast and telling me that how to be a dad, when I felt that that was almost something that she was harbouring in her own thoughts, and why it ended so abruptly. And I didn't edit it out because I don't feel it should be edited out, because it's given me a reason to talk again, in the sense that we need to acknowledge this, that people try to offer advice without their own experiences. And I felt then, what have I learned from that? And you have to learn, because if you're not learning, you're not progressing. But what I learned from that was what I've always known, that you can't offer advice if you've not lived in that person's shoes or lived in the similar shoes. Now, I was very relatable with Linga, and, I wasn't playing her down. I wasn't offering her compliments because she was a woman. I was offering her compliments because she'd calmed me down. She'd given me that breathing technique that I supposedly use, I should use. But then that instantly got away, and we fixated on my daughter. And she even said, we fixated on that. We did. You chose to fixate on that. And that then got me up, because I was like, hold on a minute. I'm trying my fucking hardest. If you'd have seen me 9 years ago, or 8 years ago, 5 years ago, you would think I'm a fucking saint compared to what I was then. And I felt that that was a difficult conversation for me, because I was being offered advice from a female perspective who hadn't dealt with her own demons, and trying to offer advice for me, I was going to get defensive, because I was like, well, actually, hold on a minute. I did everything right. I've done more than most parents do. So I felt that that was a little bit... So I've had to jump on to address that. And it kind of goes along with, can a woman offer advice to a man? And I don't think they can. I genuinely don't think they can. I'm not effeminate in any way, shape or form. I am a burly man. I'm a man's man. I that's the way I think. It's the way I've raised, competition through and through, adrenaline through and through. Hit first, ask question later. That's the way I've been raised, and I'm trying to change that in my own mind. This is what the podcast journey is about, trying to build myself, trying to better myself. I'll still always be a man's man. I'll still always be competitive, but I'm trying to address the hit first, ask questions later. And I don't feel that advice was resonating from her in that situation, which makes me agree with the fact that I've always thought that I don't think I can get a valuable. I can't get value out of a female or a woman offering advice to a man, because we're completely different. We are structured differently, and this is why she even said, "Oh, men always go to mental health." So she almost played down the mental health aspect, which really got my bag up then, because I was like, "Well, hold on a minute. We're raised differently. We grow up differently. We have different outlooks. We are built differently. There is nothing similar between them. There is obviously there is, but in terms of the way that a man and a woman is raised, we are completely different, and we show vulnerability in different ways." And for me, we didn't address the vulnerability factor. We started to, and then it was straight away, "Let me offer advice on your daughter." Well, okay, well, I'll listen, and I listened. And then when it came to my point to talk, I was played down again. And that is life, isn't it? That is how we look at fucking life. That is why men are in this situation. Because we try to talk about our feelings, we try to explain the story, and instantly you're getting aggressive now, mate. You're being defensive. Your anxiety's through the roof. No, I'm just fucking explaining the story, mate. That's all I'm doing. I'm giving you the full picture, and you're not accepting that, and you're going down the route that, oh, do you know what? I'm going to fucking leave. And I felt really negative about that, and it's made me think, well, fucking hell, what have I done wrong there? What did I do wrong? I don't think I did anything wrong. I'm trying to be a good parent. I think I'm a better parent than I've ever been. I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to address mental health issues, and I was having a great conversation with other men, and then I came on and that was completely destroyed by somebody that I don't think can offer advice. And I've always felt like that. I can relate with women heavily, and like I said there, was because they can be fun, they can be emotional, they can be... I enjoy learning about the aspect of women in general, because they are different to men. And I almost aspire to be like a female, in the sense that I'd love to be able to draw in on my emotions and openly explain my emotions. But instantly I was made to feel that my emotions didn't count then. That's how I felt. And that is what this fucking journey's about. Instantly, all I took from that was my emotion, my feelings didn't count. That's what I felt from that. And as harsh as that sounds, absolutely amazing woman, but that's how I felt. I felt, well, hold on a minute. When I'm trying to say my piece, I'm trying to talk, and I'm trying to be open, I was ostracized. I was made to feel like I was aggressive and defensive. No, I wasn't. I never came across as aggressive at all. I'm just explaining the story in the same tone that I've always spoken in every single podcast. And then it got to a point where her level grew when she was showing her part, and then when I showed my part, which is where we should have had a discussion, it was, "Oh, James, you're being very dramatic here," sort of thing. And I was like, well, no, I'm not. I'm just explaining the story. And this is the problem that men have. This is why I fucking talk. Because we don't get an opportunity to talk about our feelings. And I was told then, she was saying to me I should have gone out and taken my kid for a 15-minute walk. I'd already explained to her that I'd made the mistake. Okay, that was a genuine mistake. She's always said to me, "I don't like this pizza," whatever. And this is going to sound really trivial. But I realised and acknowledged the fact that she was getting upset with that. And the bit I took from that was, and this is really important, and this is where I think the conversation between us should have stopped, was, James, she didn't feel inclusive. I took so much out of that. That one little word, which I strive for, I took so much out of that. I didn't get defensive over that. I straight away went, "You're right. I didn't make her feel inclusive. I thought it was because she didn't like the pizza. What I should have done was brought home something that she'd liked, and that would have made it a lot better." I've learnt from that. Absolutely invaluable conversation there. The conversation should have stopped then. Because when it went into the point where I should have done this, I should have done that, we have different families. Her upbringing is completely different to my upbringing. The way I raise my children is completely different to my next door neighbour. So you can't offer advice on that. And I did do that. And my defensive aspect came from, hold on a minute, I said sorry. I tried to rectify it by taking her out for a walk to go and get her sweets and pay for them. So I'd done what I could as a father. And then an hour later I went in and said, "Look, I've learnt from this. Absolute apologies. It will never happen again as a father." Did she listen to that aspect though? No. If you listen to the podcast closely, when I said that, she said I was getting defensive. She said, I'm going to leave. I tried to heal you. It hurts my heart. No, you didn't try to heal me. I'd already explained that I'd done what you were offering. So you played my emotions down. You played my feelings down. And this is where men fucking struggle. This is why I get angry. Because I'm trying to be a better person. I'm talking openly. I'm being open. And a woman came straight on and played me down. And made me feel shit. I feel fucking awful now. And I've never done a podcast and felt awful. But that is the way I feel now. I feel awful. Because that's the way that I've been made to feel. Because my emotions didn't matter. The fact that I'd already done what she said and I rectified it, and it kind of didn't play into the hands of her coming across as the enlightened one, I felt, well, hold on a minute. I've done that. What are you talking about? I did try that. I've done that. I've said sorry. It will never happen again. I'm all about inclusion. Fuck me. I'm a diversity and inclusion advisor at level 5 in my fucking work organisation. I talk openly for 20 minutes on a fucking a live show with half my organisation the other day. So I am inclusive. Absolutely try to nurture everybody. If I make a mistake, I'll try and rectify it. But to be sat there on that conversation on my podcast, to be made to feel like I was the negative one, fucking ruined me. It did. I feel shit. I've had to jump straight back on and talk because I don't get what I did wrong there. And it'd be interesting to know what people think. Did I do something wrong? Was I wrong? If you listen to the podcast carefully, I did everything that she was offering advice from. And then when she said to me, I don't need to know about the details. You do need to know about the details because the details will prove that I was trying that. I've tried that. I've done what I can. I'm a fucking good dad now. I admit I wasn't the best of dads. I admit I've been awful. And I haven't been there because of my mental health condition. This isn't healing my heart. This is a mental health condition. And this is where somebody then was offering me advice that wasn't skilled in the arts of post-traumatic stress disorder and attention deficit disorder. ADHD. Attention deficit. I can't remember what the H stands for. Someone will tell me. So I feel emotionally drained now because I'm like, what the fuck have I done wrong? Have I done something wrong? Can a woman offer advice to a man when we're raised completely differently? I don't think you can. The proof's in the pudding there. Someone came on from a completely different, a different environment. We're talking America here, and to the UK, and almost made me feel awful. Like I felt shit. Even my friend Lingo was on there, was like, don't worry about it, mate, and I'm like, no, I do, because I don't think I did anything wrong. She said her piece, and normally where conversation works is I say my piece. But when I said my piece, it was almost like, because I wasn't talking in a soft, soothing voice, which men can't fucking do, by the way. I've got a deep voice. I can't talk in a deep voice. This is my flow of conversation. I am constantly on it. It's hard for me to play my emotions down. It's hard for me to talk if I spoke at that level. I'm just going to say so. If I spoke at that level of just being like that and going, okay, yeah, I did try that. That was an amazing thing. I did, I'm breathing now, and yeah, it's amazing. I tried my best, and I cuddled her and I said she was okay, and I said sorry, it won't happen again. If I spoke like that all the fucking time, I wouldn't get anywhere in life. This is who I am. This is the problem with understanding mental health in men. We are geared differently. We are built differently. We have different emotions. We're raised differently. I was raised in a competitive environment, not to lose. And I've lost. I lost to mental health, and I'm losing to mental health. She heard half the story and said, you're fucking fixating on this, and this. Yes, I don't know what my purpose is. I know what I want in life. I'd love to be a life coach. I would love to go around to people and go, let's fucking do this. I'm a motivator. The reason I talk at such a high level is because I'm a motivator in life. That was played down. And I was made to feel shit. And this is why men, for me, don't talk out. And I had to come back on to go, fuck off, I'm challenging this. Because this is why men don't talk. Because we're made to feel like we're too angry. Well, fuck me, lady. Try having testosterone in your body. Especially when you've got very high levels of testosterone like I've got, I have abnormally high levels of testosterone. You try living with that and then try and be a calm, collective person. You cannot fucking do it. But men are different. But more men have more testosterone than a lack of it. You know, and 9 times out of 10, my friends that are around me have lower testosterone levels, because that's why we don't argue together. Because you look at my friend Kieran, for instance, he's got more estrogen than fucking testosterone, I'm sure of it, because he's just a relaxed individual. But the reason I relate with people like that is because they ground me. If I was surrounded by people that had high levels of testosterone or were similar to me, and I've done this plenty of times because that's my go-to, if I find someone like that, I grasp onto them because it's fun and exciting. But if I did that through life 24/7, I'd be dead in a year. You have to be surrounded by people that are grounded. But that was fucking awful. That was the worst podcast I've ever done. I was made to feel shit. And to not deal with that emotion and just leave made it even worse, because it was almost like, I've upset you, I tried to help you, almost like you're beyond help, so I'm going to leave. That's exactly how I read that scenario. I tried to help you. No, you didn't try to help me. You tried to help me initially, and it calmed me down, and it was nice. I do get like that. When I talk to women, I do calm down, because I don't feel that there's a competitive edge there. I don't feel I need to be competitive. When I talk to a man, I feel I need to be competitive. It's natural. My heckles go up with men, my defense mechanisms come out, and I start getting the adrenaline rush. With any male, in any situation, in a meeting or whatever, I will make you feel less inadequate. Sorry, not less adequate. That's the wrong word. That's complete. I will make you know that I'm the alpha in the room. That's the way I am. And when you belittle me, and this has happened many times, to make me feel like I'm not the alpha, number one, I will prove you wrong. And number two, I will make your life a living hell. And I will never support you. Because I am a natural alpha. And natural alphas are the ones that you need to watch out for. And this is learning the whole story, isn't it? This is understanding the whole story. She didn't know that. She just came in with I've listened to you, I feel like I know you. No, you quite frankly, you do not know me. I've got a friend of 28 years that probably doesn't know me as well as he thinks, because I don't share secrets with everybody. I don't share my full personality. And as we said at the start of the podcast with Linga, you know, where do you feel you're most natural? Well, probably normally with my friends. But at the same time, it's never full. I never fully let out who I want to be, because people can't take that. If I was who I wanted to be, I would be fucking dangerous, honest, and tell you exactly as it is. I have to play myself down. So no, you don't fucking know me. And this is the problem why men don't fucking talk. Because I felt like, do you know what? I want to delete my podcast. That's how I feel right now, is I want to delete my podcast and move on, because I felt shit. I felt like my emotions, my feelings, my story didn't count. It felt like I'm getting the airtime, fucking brilliant. No, that's how I felt. That's how that made me feel. That didn't nurture me. That didn't offer me support or guidance. That offered me her depiction of how I should have been, when in actual fact I had done what she'd advised. I'd done what she said, but because it didn't fit in with the story, I was made to feel shit. And that's awful. I feel horrendous. That's how I feel. And Linga was like, don't, pick out the positives from it. I don't think there was a positive from that conversation, really. In fact, no, tell a lie. There was a positive, and it did make me look at the inclusivity, making sure that I think outside the box. So I did take a lot from that, actually. That's a lie. I took the fact that if I'm going to get something for my children, to make sure that I cover them across everybody. Even if that meant just going and getting her favourite sweets, to make her feel included. So I didn't get you a pizza, but I got you your favourite sweets. That would have been the inclusivity. I get that. And offering that as a second line basis, as in, sorry, can I go around the shop and get you sweets now? She'd have gone, well, no, the damage is already done. And I look at my 11-year-old daughter, and she is going through hormonal changes. She is a bit more emotional, and I understand that. And because I'm not an emotional person, it's very difficult for me. to see someone cry because I don't want to ever make anyone cry. I'll be honest with you, after the conversation I'd had with her on the podcast a minute ago, I wanted to cry. I was like, I don't feel valued here. Bang. Bang, I got it. The doors, wind picked up there. I felt inadequate. I felt invaluable. I felt like my whole podcast was a waste of time. She almost said like I'd been talking about this and this, and it didn't matter. What you really need to do is heal your heart. My heart's been broken fucking loads of times. It's not the heart I need to fucking focus on. It's my mind as well. It is my mind because I need to challenge and channel my anger. It was like, what's your anxiety right now? Well, it depends on what your anxiety meant in terms of, okay, I wouldn't have said my anxiety was high. I would have said my conversation was low, in the sense I'd manipulated my tone. I'd manipulated my conversation to deal with the level, and I noticed that I had to play my conversation down and draw my tone down because I was talking to a woman. You wouldn't go in and talk to a man the same way you talk to a woman. We talk to each other differently. I don't say the same things I say to a man that I would do to a woman because it might offend them. I don't talk in the same voice with a woman as I do with a man. I talk with a man with a deeper voice because I tend to be, and a little bit more excitable, because I tend to try to show them I'm here to make a change. I'm here to make a difference. I'm the alpha. You have to do that. That's just natural in me because I'm a man's man. When I talk to a woman, I will calm down. I will talk naturally. I will talk slightly softer. That's not because she did that. That's because that's the way that men are geared. You have to talk differently to females. Otherwise, you'll scare them because you'll show them an aggressive side. When she started attacking me and started going, James, I felt that was patronising. Hold on a minute, you've said your piece. Let me say my piece. And this is where I say men cannot fucking talk openly. Because she wasn't. A completely unknown entity did not want to fucking listen to me. Didn't want to listen to my journey, didn't want to listen to my process, but fixated on something. As she said at the start of her conversation, she was abused when she was younger. So she has a different depiction of men, which is why she's called, that she's got that dominatrix effect to her, because of how she's been trained that men deal with that. So when men raise a voice, she gets defensive because that's the reason that she's probably disliking men. So I think she has her own issues there. But those issues then made me feel awful, made me feel like I was an inadequate father, made me feel like my mental health process was inadequate. That's honestly how I felt then. And I'm already fucking low as it is, and then all of a sudden I'm sat there, and I'm like, hold on a minute. Right, you've said your fucking piece. Now let me say my piece. And my piece proved that I'd already done what she'd offer advice with. But it was because I raised my tone and my demeanour, because I was defensive on what she was saying was a personal attack towards me. I went, well, actually, fucking hold on a minute. I'm not the best of dads. I get that. And I'll take your advice. I never looked at it in the fact that my daughter was upset because she didn't feel included. Okay, I never looked at it that. I just looked at it, she wanted fucking pizza. But that's because men are fucking raised differently. We're not raised to look at the emotion. We're raised to, if my daughter had been crying, I would have gone, who the fuck's hurt you? What's happened? I'll fucking kill him. Do you know what I mean? That's the way that we're geared as men. We're not geared to feel the emotion. That's why you have a man and a woman in a relationship to give you to give you the dynamic, so that my wife happily looks after the emotional side. I happily look after the security and protection factor, because I'm not geared to do that. Some men are. Some men are happy and comfortable in their emotional side. I'm personally not. So that's really upset me. And when you're already in a fucking low place and you're made to feel devalued, it's fucking horrible. And that just proves my point, that men can't talk about their feelings because we're made to feel inadequate. She said that men are stupid, or I can't remember what the word she said. Clueless. Men are clueless, she said. Men are clueless. And we're not clueless. Absolutely not. That's exactly what she said. That just goes to shit. And as soon as she said men are clueless, I went, right, you're looking at this from the wrong perspective. Men are not clueless. Men are raised differently. Men are taught not to feel those emotions. If you show emotion, you show weakness. So we have to articulate ourselves in different ways. And that's what I did. And I tried to say that I'm not on that. I'm trying to be a different person. I'm trying to be open and honest about my feelings, my emotions. And I'm instantly made to feel shit by a woman. Made me feel shit. Now I have to acknowledge that, because that is the way that's made me feel. And that's why I know for a fact that women cannot offer advice to men. They can help us. And she should have helped me. If she'd have helped me by saying, James, the way you should have looked at it was, your daughter just wanted to feel included. If you'd have, bought something for her, X, Y, and Z, then that would have sorted that out, and maybe that's something you can learn for the future. If she'd have stopped the conversation there, that would have been it. I would have gone, fucking brilliant. I never thought of it from that perspective, so you have helped me. Then when you went on to personally attack the way that I dealt with the method, and then attacked me from giving you a full brief of the whole scenario, to actually say I'd done what you'd offered. When you said go out for a walk, I did offer her to go out for a walk. I did offer to take her to the shops for her favourite sweets. I did apologise when I went in and said it will never happen again. I truly know to this day I didn't understand what I was apologising for. Now I know what I'm apologising for, and that's where I think women can offer advice to men on a female perspective, but you cannot as a woman offer perspective from a male's point of view. You don't know what it's like to live in men's shoes. You were not raised the way men are raised. We are raised to not feel emotions. We are raised to bury our emotions down, and this is why there's a 75% fucking rate of deaths in men. The proof was in the pudding with regards to a woman jumping on and talking about men. And this is why I was made to feel shit, to the point where I don't want to do my podcast anymore. Because I'm scared and worried I'm going to come across people like that again. And that's how I genuinely feel. I shouldn't have to feel like that. But that was played down. That was played into the hands of... And then it turned into an emotional aspect. I'm sorry I've upset you and all this jazz. I'm going to go, And it was made to feel like I was made to feel shit again. And that's what happens, isn't it? Men are made to feel shit. Look at fucking Johnny Depp. Absolutely look at Johnny Depp's fucking thing. Completely and utterly fucking systematically abused by a woman. And he was made to feel shit. The world turned their back on him. And now look at him. Proof is in the pudding. Men cannot fucking talk. Men cannot be open. Because we always seem to be in the wrong. And that's how I feel. I feel like, I'm in the fucking wrong. How can I offer advice to people when I'm being made to told I'm made to feel wrong? Openly on my own personal podcast. I've got a lot of reflection to do, I seem. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there because I feel completely and utterly overwhelmed with emotion at the moment. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what to do. I was in a shit place. I'm now in an even worse place because I'm just made to feel like my thoughts and processes and talking about my history, don't count. And to say that you keep talking about ADHD and PTSD and, not about healing your heart. Well, I think you need to learn about the two things because those two mental health conditions consume you, especially as a man. When you're under these pressures and strains, and then to tell me that I'm a piss poor dad, cut me fucking deep, absolutely cut me deep, and it hurts even more when you hear it from a woman, because you don't want to ever upset a woman. You never want to upset a woman. Difficult, and that's why I'm talking about men. But I'll stop it there. But thank you for listening, and I hopefully look forward to maybe talking to you again soon. We'll see. Thanks, take care everyone, and hope you have a pleasant rest of the day depending on when you're listening to this.